Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about interview tips for new medical coders and how to answer the question, tell us about yourself. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay guys, so on LinkedIn this weekend, I was scrolling around and I saw this post from someone who works in HR. Now, there's a lot of posts that they talk about the same thing, but this one is really driving home the point that I have been telling y'all since the beginning of my channel. When you are in an interview and you're brand new as a medical coder, you need to talk about your skills. You don't need to talk about your family life, okay? This post is going to really drive that home and what to do about it. And also, I'm going to read a follow-up comment from a gentleman who really brought everything home in what he had to say. So, there we go. So the post reads, as a human resources rep, I am so tired of hearing, I am a single mother of 3 children. I enjoy reading, shopping, and walking my dog in the park. Stop it, she says. This is how to introduce yourself in a job interview. One of the most common interview questions is, tell us about yourself. It might seem simple, but it's your chance to make a great impression. Here's how to ace this question using the SEAT structure, okay? So the S stands for skills. Start by highlighting the key skills that you possess that are directly relevant to the job. Focus on what makes you a great fit. E for education and experience. Briefly mention your professional background and educational qualifications that align with the role. Even if you're coming in as somebody with no prior medical background at all, that's still okay too. There's a lot of transferable skill that you have, and this is where you can start talking about those specific things. Like if you did a lot of conflict resolution, maybe you worked in retail, maybe you handled cash, maybe you had to protect information for the other employees, their private information like their social security numbers and ID numbers and that kind of thing. Those are things that you need to talk about in the interview when they're asking you to tell them about yourself. Okay, A is for achievement. Share any notable achievement or 2 from a previous role. If you don't have any of those things, it's okay to skip that. I never really try to draw attention to those types of things when they say, oh, I was employee of the month, or, I had a 4.0 GPA and that kind of thing in the school. It doesn't matter. They're not interested in that. They want to know how you are competent, what you can do to help them. That's what they're there for. They don't need to know that you're this stellar employee. They'll be able to figure that out when you start working. So, like I said, make the whole conversation geared to what you can do for them, all right? And T is the type of person that you are. So describe your work style, personality, and the value that you bring to the team. Showcase what makes you unique. This means is that if you say you're a team player, you need to talk about something that showed that you are a team player. Everybody's a team player. Everybody's organized when they're looking for a job. However, sometimes when you get in the job, you find out really quick that some people are not such a team player after all. So you have to really pay attention to how you're describing yourself and at least come up with some examples of how you are a team player or how you take direction or how you can work autonomously, okay? Autonomously means that you can work by yourself with little to no direction, okay? It's great if you have this skill. There are some people that they need somebody to tell them what to do and to be behind their back and watching what they do. There are some people like that, and there's nothing wrong with that, all right? Everybody has a place in this world, and everybody fits where they need to. However, if you can manage to be self-directive and be able to do things on your own without, somebody having to watch over you, that's a quality that you do need to highlight. But also, if you are able to work in a team, that's also really good too, and you need to talk about that as well. So, with that said, using this structure, it will help you to deliver a well-rounded and memorable introduction. P.S. To make it easier, remember to take a seat at the table, okay? So the gentleman that responded, I liked his response, and he got quite a few reactions to his comments, and I like that. I like when I see comments and people get positive reactions from those comments because that means that they're right on the topic. So what he said was, having staffed some large projects recently, including a large number of auditors, RN and MD auditors, and similar positions, I urge people to read the requirements for the position. I had hundreds of applicants for a position, and most weren't qualified based on the job requirements. Some were obvious and didn't even live in the required geographic area. My personal pet peeve is when people don't meet the requirements but want to stress that they are quick learners. I don't like that either. That annoys me because, guys, this is a very technical field. It's not about, oh, I'm a quick learner. Everybody's a quick learner, okay? But you got to have those technical skills down before you get into a place, because that's going to be secondary. Quick learners is like if you're working in retail or if you're working in food service, you have to be a quick learner. That's when it's, you can really emphasize that in those types of positions. But in these types of positions, auditor, medical coder, any of those things like that, anything in health information management, that's going to require you to have technical skill. And that's where you have to really emphasize that you know about ICD-10-CM, CPT, HCPCS, ICD-10 PCS. Those are the types of things that you have to really emphasize what you know and your skills. Because if you say, oh yes, I can code inpatient and outpatient, what do you mean by inpatient and outpatient? Do you mean that you can code for the facility in ICD-10 PCS? Or do you mean that you can code for, when you say inpatient, you can code for the physician who is going up to the floor, and you're coding for professional fee, and there's an E&M in the CPT manual for that. And when you're doing facility coding for ICD-10 PCS, there is no E&M. So you have to really know the difference. And that's what you want to talk about and drive home in your interview. Okay? And then continuing on, how is that even relevant for a role that specifically requires certain skills for the position? I like this guy. A quick learner approach may be something for an entry-level position, but for a position requiring certain skills as part of the job, how fast someone can learn is neither relevant or empirical. Focus on the requirements, and if you get rejected on the application alone, take a look and see if you actually missed the mark. Now, I've seen this. I've seen people who are on LinkedIn, they're upset and they're mad because they say, oh, I'm a new medical coder, and I've been applying for all these jobs and no one wants to give me a chance. Here's my resume. First of all, they don't even have their credential next to their name. If I see that and I'm a hiring manager, I'm immediately going to reject it, because I'm not going to take the time to do an Easter egg hunt to try to look for your credential. What does your credential tell me? Your credential tells me what you have been tested on that you're showing proficiency in. For example, if you have a CCA, the Certified Coding Associate, or the CCS, the Certified Coding Specialist, the gold standard of medical coding credentials, this says that you know inpatient coding and outpatient coding, that you can code for ICD-10-CM, obviously, but CPT and ICD-10 PCS. You know both coding classifications, and you understand the rules and how to apply those. So that means if I have you at my facility and I hire you as an outpatient coder, but I need somebody to, help out in inpatient coding, I can call on you to help out in inpatient coding. That just made my hiring decision more efficient, because this says that you are going to be versatile. Even if you don't have any experience yet, but if you still understand the technical fundamental basics of it, that's enough to get us going, because you can pick up the rest of it later on, just like you did with outpatient. Okay. Now, if you're telling me that you have a CCSP, that's a Certified Coding Specialist Physician based, or if you have a CPC or a CPCA, the CPC is a Certified Professional Coder. If you have less than 2 years of experience, you have that apprentice status attached to it. Sometimes you're able to get that apprentice status removed a lot faster because you go through an approved AAPC program, and then you take Practicode as well, and that eliminates that requirement for 2 years for that apprentice status. However, you still have no experience. So it really doesn't make sense to push the subject of trying to hurry up and remove the apprentice status and spend all that extra money. Why? You still have no experience. They would still hire you anyway with the CPCA if you gave yourself the opportunity to really be out there and applying and watching my videos that I talk about how to apply for these jobs and that kind of thing. But that aside, when we think about this, again, somebody with a CCSP or a CPC or a CPCA, I'm going to know from Jump Street that this person understands outpatient coding, that they can obviously code with ICD-10-CM, your diagnosis coding, but that you understand CPT coding, which is the procedures and evaluation and management. And if you don't understand evaluation and management, you need to work on it. There's no excuse. And I don't want to hear how you don't like it, how you don't understand. You need to work on it. There is no excuse for picking and choosing what you like and what you don't like when you very first start. You need to learn everything, okay? And these folks also know HCPCS coding, okay? Not that the CCA or the CCS doesn't know HCPCS, but it's not on the test. But everybody should know that HCPCS, okay? So those are the things that I'm going to know right away, okay? If you're detail oriented and you have your credential right next to your name, good. This is what I need to see, because what are we starting with? And then I need to see an objective statement. Now, before any of you complains and says, well, I heard we don't have to have an objective statement. I think it's funny how people want to correct me, and I'm the professional, right? I'm the professional resume writer. I'm the one who's a medical coder. I'm the one who's been in the industry for 16 years. So I know what a health information manager or a medical coding supervisor is going to look for, okay? That objective statement is going to say right away the position that you are applying for. And it requires you to update that every single time you apply. Yes, the job title that you have in your objective statement, because your objective statement is going to say why you're there. I don't like seeing resumes where it talks about the person's name and then it starts listing all their skills and that they went to school and then they did all these other jobs that are unrelated to coding or health information. And then they talk about in their skills 50,000 things. And then they talk about, oh, I ran a PCR report. I don't even know what a PCR report is. How is that relevant to health information and medical coding? You don't have to tell me that company's specific title of a report. You just have to tell me what it was. Was it a census report? Was it, a inventory report? Those are things that I can identify. I don't need to know it's a PCR report or an SAT report or, anything else, PCM. I don't care. Leave those titles of those reports off. Tell me what it is. Okay, what kind of report is this? And if you have same types of jobs that you've been working, say for instance, you've been working retail, do not tell me the same thing over and over again. If you're doing that, again, this is a person who's lazy or doesn't know how to identify the things that they've been doing and their skills. I'm not going to want this person. I need people who are detail oriented. I don't want to see any abbreviations on your resume either. Abbreviations, except for, of course, the credentials, is fine. But any abbreviations need to come off there. I don't know what your abbreviation of whatever it is that you're trying to put on there. And I'm not going to sit here and try to figure it out either. Okay? So you want to have it on one page. I tell y'all this all the time, and yet I still see people on LinkedIn upset and mad and with 4 or 5 page resumes. And then they still, with a straight face, can't figure out why they're not getting called back. Because you don't have conciseness down. You've got to get your resume down to 1 page. You do have to have a cover letter. Your cover letter is going to talk about your soft skills and your people skills and things like that. That's what I mean. And so that's going to be that human draw, to have that cover letter. All right. And then again, with your resume, I only need to see hard skills on your resume. I don't want to see that you're organized. I don't want to see that you're a team player. I don't want to see that you have a smiling face. Any of those things, I'm immediately rejecting your resume, because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. Your skill list doesn't have to be 50,000 things either. That a lot of times are saying the same thing. I'll see health information management, then I'll see medical coding, then I'll see outpatient coding, then I'll see NCD, LCD edits. What the heck are you talking about? Get right to the point. we're going to know everything that's included with those types of things. So if you say ICD-10-CM, CPT, HCPCS, ICD-10 PCS, if you had that training, that's what I need to see. Because when you're looking at the job listings, that's exactly what they're going to ask for. Medical terminology, anatomy, and pathophysiology, that's what they're going to show in the job listing. And that's what needs to be on your resume. Okay? So when you're going into this resume and you start talking about yourself and your skills, leave your family out of it. Guys, you have to understand something. This industry, there's a lot of mothers, okay? So sometimes I see people that they try to talk about their kids because they want to try to build that connection with their interviewer and that kind of thing. It's nice to be able to build connections, absolutely. However, in a situation like the interview, you need to stay focused on your skills. Because if you start saying, well, if they ask you, why do you want to work at this job? Well, I know it's working remote, so I want to be able to stay at home and raise my kids and be there for them for breakfast and lunch, and I don't have to commute, and I'm just happy that I can be at home and just taking care of my family, and I can still do. No, absolutely not. That would be the person that I would not call back, because this tells me that you're distracted. And a lot of times people think, oh yeah, I can just go, make the kids some breakfast and then come right back to my desk. You don't understand something. Medical coding takes focus and concentration. Every single provider is going to be documenting differently. You only have the benefit of looking in the book right now, right? As a medical coding student or a recent graduate. All the scenarios that are in the book are going to be complete. They're going to have laterality. They're going to have what happened. They're going to have however many weeks of gestation the mother is. They're going to have all of that good information, and you're not going to have to query for anything. When you get in the real world, though, you may have a doctor who's not having a good day. He's upset with his spouse. He's upset with his kids. He just got scolded by the hospital administrator, and he is in no mood, or she is in no mood, to write these notes. So you're going to barely get the information that you're going to get. So guess what? We're missing critical information that I can't code without this information. So now I got to send a query. And so again, it takes time to be able to look at those things and concentrate on what you're doing. A few years ago when I worked at home for a level 1 trauma hospital, you are sitting there looking at that note to see what is happening with this patient. Level 1 traumas are wild, okay? There's a lot of things that are going on, and you have to pay attention. If I had somebody that I had to get up and go tend to, come right back, and then get up and tend to them again, and then, oh yeah, come right back. No, that would show that I wouldn't be able to make productivity. Even if you think, oh yeah, I'm going to slip out the door for a couple of minutes and then I'm going to come right back, it'll be like I was never gone. I'll get that little mouse jiggler, and it'll be okay. It's like I was never gone. Then you find that you can't keep up with productivity. And then you're saying, oh, it's because I'm new and no one trained me. That's why they don't want you working in at home when you're brand new. Because people, when they're brand new and they try to do that, because no one's over their shoulder looking at them, and they think they can be slick. Everything that you think that you can try, somebody has already been there, done that. Somebody's already been there, done that, got a t-shirt. There was a lady that I heard about. I had somebody tell me the story of the lady that didn't want to put in for leave to go on vacation. Took her laptop, went down to Mexico, connected to the hotel's Wi-Fi. She got a call within a few minutes of doing that. And it was the IT folks from the company asking her where she was. And she says, well, I'm working, I'm at home. And they said, no, you're not. You've just connected to this hotel Wi-Fi. We need you to log off and bring our computer back. She got fired. Because, first of all, you weren't where you're supposed to be. And even though you're connected to the internet, you're connected to Wi-Fi. And that's a big no-no. Especially on something as unsecured as a hotel Wi-Fi. So there's a lot of things that people think that they can be slick and get away with. And you'll be found out, guys. You will be found out. There's record trails for every single thing that you do. Every single patient record that you access is going to have a timestamp and how many minutes, down to however many seconds you were in that record. There will be a record of that. Okay? So when you are in this interview, and you may say that that's really at the heart of your whole thing. The reason that you want to stay at home is because it would be easier for you, that you wouldn't have to have somebody to watch your kids and things like that. But you have to treat it like you are at the office. Okay? If your kids are big enough to take care of themselves, that's something that's different. However, you don't need to bring that up in the interview. As far as they're concerned, you are a single person who is loving medical coding. That's all you need to be emphasizing. You don't need to talk about your relationships. You don't need to talk about, oh, that you're married. You don't need to talk about your kids. You don't need to do any of that in the interview. They don't need to know that. They need to know about you and what you're doing there and how you can help them. You need to emphasize the transferable skills. Maybe you did come from retail, but you know why retail is so great to transfer into? You had to do inventory in retail. You had to make sure that the area was safe, not just for the staff, but also for the customers that are coming in. So you're having to follow those regulations from the company to keep the area safe, that there's no tripping hazards and things like that. And you have to make sure that everything is clean and nice when there's an inspection. So following regulations is something you can emphasize. Keeping people's information safe, customer credit card receipts, keeping those safe, making the deposits in the bank. Those things are things that you can talk about because that privacy is relevant to what coders do, right? We keep information private. We keep it safe. So that's something that you can emphasize. If you did not do any of those things, maybe you were a volunteer at the church. Again, I talked about this. If you're a volunteer at your church, you can talk about that. You could say, well, I'm a volunteer with the church, and I help out teaching Sunday school, and I break things down to the different age groups, and I also help out with the adult Sunday school education. And so I am accustomed to teaching different groups of individuals and being able to cater to different learning needs. Hey, you just told me that you can cater to different learning needs. That's great. Do you know why? Because we have providers here who all learn differently, and we need somebody who's going to be comfortable enough to talk to them. It doesn't matter that you're brand new. You will learn. You will learn. And a lot of times before you make a presentation to a provider or get with providers, you're going to have somebody looking at your stuff to make sure that it's okay. So don't panic. But again, those are transferable skills. And we're talking about transferable skills. We're not talking about our kids, our husband, our wife, our partner, and anybody else that's around us, and my parents and blah, blah, blah. We're not talking about any of that stuff. That's your private life. You need to leave it at home. You need to talk about what you know. Did you take a college level anatomy and medical terminology course? That's what you need to talk about. Did you take biology? Biology is very important. Why? Because that goes down to the cellular level. So if you know that, then that means you know pathophysiology, and it's going to make a lot more sense to you. That's what you need to talk about. And don't say, oh, I took a college course 20 years ago. It doesn't matter. Don't talk about 20 years ago. Tell them I've gone to college and I have taken biology, I have taken anatomy, I've taken medical terminology, whatever it is that you did in the college. That's what you need to talk about, not what year you graduated. Because we don't, even though they're looking at you in person, we don't need to talk about how long ago it was. Okay? You have that skill. It will come back to you, obviously, because when you are going through these scenarios and things, you're exposing your brain to those things again. So, but this is just telling them more about you. I would like the person who is classically trained in medical terminology and anatomy and pathophysiology? Sure. But do I also trust the person that learned it on their own? Absolutely, because that is something that you can learn on your own. But does it look really good if you say that you learned it in the school? Absolutely, because then that means somebody was right there with you, okay? Not to say that somebody who's learning on their own doesn't have that same pull, but again, what did you learn on your own? How did you learn on your own? And those still apply, because I'm impressed with the person who goes to the public library. I am. I want that person. Because why? You're telling me that you go to the public library? That means that you know how to do your research. You're not going to sit around and wait around willy-nilly for somebody to hold your hand and coddle you and do everything for you. You telling me that you go to the public library, all right, and you go over there, you do your research. Again, that's somebody that I want on my team, because that's somebody that knows how to do their research. You can't always rely on the internet for everything. Yes, there's a lot of things on the internet. However, there's a lot of things on the internet that aren't correct either. So that's the thing. Books, you can never go wrong with, all right? I love books. Can never go wrong with books. Yeah, but that's what I need you guys to focus on. Don't talk about your family. Don't show pictures of your kids. Don't be bragging about your spouse or complaining about your spouse. Don't do it. Focus on you. Like I said, I do professional coaching. A lot of times when I get people who contact me and say, Blue, can we do a interview prep session? I said, sure, And I did this one with this lady, and I said, tell me about yourself. The first thing she did was talk about her kids. And it was 10 minutes of her talking about her kids, and I finally had to stop her. And I said, okay, we got to go on to the next question. And, she was just so excited. She wanted to share more about her kids. So I had to keep the conversation going. And at the end, when I was giving her the feedback, I told her, I said, we've got to stop talking about the family, because in the interview, it's not where you want to do that. It's not where you want to do that. When you get in, absolutely. You start connecting with your coworkers, you still need to be very careful about what you share. And you still shouldn't share too much. But in the interview process, we need to focus on us. And it was very difficult for her, because when we went the second round, she still struggled to not talk about her family. Her identity was so well wrapped up in her family, because she had been a stay-at-home parent for many years. And it was very hard for her. And I told her, while I understand this is your career now, and this is what you're going to be putting your energy into, because your kids are going to go and they're going to leave you and have lives of their own. You have to focus on yourself, because this is going to be what you're going to do. And you want to be able to get in, the sooner the better, because you don't want to wait too long to get in and get a job. So, but again, if you find yourself talking about your family, you need to redirect yourself and talk about your skills and highlight those. At least that's just my advice anyway. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. But best of luck to you guys out there. Remember, focus on your skills, your education, your technical know-how. That's where you need to really focus when you're talking about yourself. This is my advice anyway. And then one more thing. If you're going to an in-person interview, no perfume, no cologne. Because if I can smell your perfume or your cologne, you're not getting hired. You're not. Why? Because people's allergies can act up. And if you are working in a facility, oftentimes there's going to be a regulation about not having strong perfumes or strong colognes in patient care areas. I'm just saying, even if when you're in the admin office, it still doesn't matter. There's nothing worse than working next to somebody who you're practically choking on their perfume or their cologne. Okay, so don't do it. There's a time and a place, all right? And the workplace is not that place. I'm just saying. With that said, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see y'all again. Bye.